Alrighty, first video of the decade. Let's get into it. We're going to be looking at another battle avionic. This time it's another one that a lot of people have been wanting to get. I noticed that a lot of people who actually jump into my ship as a crew member, they tend to also write something along the lines of, ooh, I hope I get Munitions Vortex. So that's what we're going to be talking about today. So here is Munitions Vortex. Quite simply, deploy a bubble that absorbs fire for 15 seconds, detonate for all accumulated damage over 150 meters. What does that sound like? It literally sounds word for word like Mag's bubble. So this is essentially Magnetize but in space. And just like Magnetize in space, it also features that whole projectile weapon spinning around mechanic. So we will deploy our Munitions Vortex like that. There it is. And if we shoot using our Carcanoxes, then you will notice that the bullets are flying all over the place. This is probably going to be the same if you decide to use an APOC. It might not be the same if you decide to use a Cryophan though, and this is definitely not the case when you are using a Photor. So this particular ability is very powerful. Just like a magnetized bubble, if there are any enemy fighters that come near that bubble, they take damage. And they actually take damage that is basically similar to your normal gun damage. But if you decide to shoot a lot of bullets into it and let it fly around in a straight line, slowly of course, but if you let it fly around in a straight line, it is essentially this great big bomb that is just about ready to explode. In every mission so far, so in the Earth Proxima, in the Saturn Proxima, and even in Vale Proxima, a full magazine of bullets tends to be about enough to wipe out any ship, any fighter that is close enough to the Munitions Vortex. Because you need fighters to be close to your Munitions Vortex, obviously the top tier go-to combo is to put this with Void Hole, and that is very simple. You just throw out the Void Hole, you let enemies get sucked in, and then while they're getting sucked in, you just fire out the Munitions Vortex, and then you just start shooting at the Munitions Vortex bubble itself. Eventually, when that Munitions Vortex gets close enough to the middle of your Void Hole, your enemy fighters might actually start to take damage in the form of the bullets that are flying around the Munitions Vortex. That's pretty good as well. Or alternatively, you can just make it explode, and boom, everyone that is caught within the vortex is basically dead. That's really, really powerful. And also because it's heavy burst damage, then in the Vale Proxima, this damage tends to be about enough to completely bypass that whole random healing thing that enemy cruise ships can give their fighters. So basically you can turn the sustained damage of your cannons into hyper burst damage, which is really, really powerful. But otherwise, this is a pretty straightforward ability. Kind of like Void Hole, you will need to have a good judge of distance, except maybe not as necessarily good judge of distance as you would with Void Hole, because Munitions Vortex has a bit of a low range compared to where your ship is. So where Void Hole, you could potentially shoot it out for several kilometers, Munitions Vortex can only travel a few hundred meters before it will eventually explode. So that's basically how that works. So if you want to use Munitions Vortex by itself, you may want to be in a bit of a closer range, kind of like Particle Round, which I will talk about later on. So that is the power of Munitions Vortex. Let me know what you think about all of this in the comments below. The power of Mag's Magnetized Bubble in space, I think, is a pretty damn good first slot battle avionic. It does compete with other first slot battle avionics like countermeasures, but I don't know, just hashtag real talk. I don't think countermeasures is particularly good, but we'll talk about that in a little bit more detail when we get around to it. If you want to grab this particular battle avionic, you will need to be farming Saturn missions. You're specifically looking for something called the Elite Gaia Tactus, which is essentially an elite version of the ship that spins every so often. So just look out for those ships, and inevitably you will get Munitions Vortex. But otherwise, hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you like this video, hit that like button, subscribe for more WarFrame content, and until next time, I'll see you guys later. Thanks for watching. Bye!